Oathbreaker.
No. I've just finished leaving my Canadian Highlander deck.
Oathbreaker.
No, not on a dead format. I played tiny leaders, big leaders, moderately sized leaders. I'm not playing another dying format, Brian.
Oathbreaker.
No, I'm done. No, I'm out.
Nahiri through the breach.
No.
Ashiok Mind Sculpt.
No. Asparagus IPA?
A Johnny, Hero of Mentors, Unbreakable Formation.
No.
Nicol Bolas, Dragon God, the Elder Spell.
No.
Arlen Cord, Moon Mist.
Nope.
Gideon, Teferi's Protection.
No. I've caved. Let's do it. Let's break some oaths. Let's go.
Oathbreaker. No one's playing Oathbreaker anymore. That format died out a while ago. But listen, dude, if you would like to play some mini cube madness, I'm really happy to help you pick out the Triad of Enchantments for your deck. Mini cube madness. Come on.
Nope. No.
Hello and welcome to Dies to Removal, episode we don't know because I'm not sure what order we're going to release these in.
So it's 13, 14, 15, 16, or 17?
Vince is out visiting me and staying with me for a few days, and my goal is to record 4 of these in person, but we may only do 3. We'll see. Right now,
Smash out 5, who knows? I'm so jet lagged.
Vince is incredibly jet lagged.
I'm like, please, Brian, I need to go to bed. And he's like, no! He's like cracking the whip.
That's exactly how I'm constantly asking you, are you okay to record this now? Are you okay? Do you want to just go to bed? That's exactly how that happened.
Yes. So I was like, just come on. Let's roll the cameras. Let's see how it goes. What's the worst that could happen?
It could
An
fail.
incomprehensible mess that we can't salvage. What's the worst that could happen?
It could fail miserably. So, and speaking of which, the topic for today's video podcast is why formats fail, with some afterwards on why they succeed. Why formats succeed, but I want to start with why formats fail. Recently, I've been doing a lot of Oathbreaker deck techs. You haven't done any Oathbreaker deck techs.
I've been tempted, and people have tweeted at me as well, like, are you doing Oathbreaker content? And if I'm completely honest, part of me was like, I like my content to be evergreen, so like people don't know what that means. It's so that people can go back and watch it in like a year's time, like modern and legacy videos. Bans happen and stuff, but sure.
Yeah.
But like with Oathbreaker, I was just scared that if I did a video, the format would be dead within a month or two. And that's not because I didn't believe in the format. It's because we've had a history recently. Well,
that's actually part of the reason that we want to do this discussion is why do formats die? Can we apply that information to a format like Oathbreaker? And I also want to talk about, too, on a positive note, why formats live. There's some formats that are around that I think will be around for the entirety of Magic's.
Can you give some examples of formats that have died?
Formats that have died? Well, let's start with the big one. I'm going to start with Tiny Leaders.
Okay.
And
I have played Tiny Leaders.
Yes, I have too. And I thought Tiny Leaders was very problematic, and I feel that I can properly articulate why Tiny Leaders died. I feel that I can articulate what was wrong with it. I think a lot of people saw the problem with the format from the moment it was released.
What can you say concisely is the reason that Tiny Leaders failed? Because you said you had a point as to why.
Well, I think that Tiny Leaders failed because of too restrictive of a card pool. It was designed, it was an organic design, and by organic I mean it didn't come from corporate like Brawl, which we'll talk about in a moment, but it was designed organically by a member of the community, and I think actually Brandon Tackleberry was, I believe, his name.
I'm not sure who it
was. He was really great at marketing it. And he gave it a very memorable name, and he was really good at pushing the marketing of it. And people are drawn to the idea of brewing so much, and this idea of possibility, the idea of a commander or general, be it planeswalker or a legendary, is always very appealing because that represents you. But the problem is that it was rather arbitrary, this selection of just 3-mana CMC. and without, I again, I don't mean to disparage, the creator of the format or the format itself, but I feel that it's very fair to say the format was far too restrictive by that 3 CMC requirement. And so what happened was this led to fewer possibilities. So this is number one that I'd say. Fewer possibilities of decks is number one problem for why a format fails.
Well, it's counterintuitive. So, like, the reason I got into Tiny Leaders so much is that, as I've gone about on this podcast quite a bit, I like Legacy and Vintage and Cube and Modern and formats I get to play with my old cards that I really enjoy. And Tiny Leaders gave me the option. I had Wasteland, and I had Crucible of Worlds and stuff like that to play with, and all these sort of fun cards. But it was also counterintuitive because you had all this space of all these old cards, but then they were like very arbitrarily 3 CMC or less, which in some ways was cool. At first I was like, oh, this is a cool restriction, and it breeds creativity initially, but then the format became very much solved very quickly by spikes. And that's the other point I was going to say that ruined it a little bit, is that it was, and I think Oathbreaker's got this issue, if we're going to come to Oathbreaker in a bit, that it's inconsistent as to what people want from it. So I went to an FNM where people thought it was just going to be 1v1 commander, like soft commander. And I wastelanded someone out of the game, blew up all their lands, and they accused me of being too much of a spike. And then I lost the next round to someone who blood mooned me. So there were people there playing on the same level as me, but there was people that weren't. And it's because people were coming at the format, some very, very competitive and some very, very casual.
You're always going to have that issue, and I think that's a larger debate in Magic, maybe that we'll talk about sometime. But I think that there's a big difference between too small of a card pool or too few options.
That grows from Commander has that issue.
Yeah.
Because Commander feels like it's going to be a casual. Because Commander, I don't want to upset people watching at home. Like, I play Commander very seriously, but Commander does provoke a more casual, relaxed attitude. That's why I think.
But I don't think that's true at all. When Commander, it's like Commander encourages in many ways people to come up with very degenerate decks.
It does.
And then they self-police, and then you take it down to 80%. You talk with your play group.
Yeah, with multiplayer, sure. But as soon as you start that down to 1v1, it becomes an arms race.
Nothing gets a Commander.
It gets some people arms race.
Well, 1v1 is problematic then too, and that's part of the thing. So I think that restrictions can breed creativity, but not enough cards to draw from within those restrictions means that you have too few decks. And the first thing that happened really quickly with Tiny Leaders is that the format essentially got solved. Magic players will play to break a format. Magic players will play to solve a format, and you can't say, well, don't do that, because it's just what you do. You have to have a format that will have allowances for that human nature in players. And if a format can be broken so quickly and so easily, it's problematic. And so what we have is too small of a card pool, too few choices, so suddenly the few best decks become known. They bubble to the top. They don't even have to become known. You can't even blame net deckers. It just is that... Well, you can't. I hate blaming net deckers, but also...
It's that word. The word net deck makes me laugh.
Right. But like, people will find the best options.
Sure.
And so people find the best options. Best options
and
are out there.
And I'm going to labour that point as well. There's still that tension, because there are people who go, they'll say to their mates, come play Tiny Leaders this Friday at FNM. Just like Commander, but everything's 3 or less. So they'll go, okay, they'll tune their Commander deck down, they'll find all the 3 CMC spells, they'll throw a few more ones in, sit down, die on turn 3 to a combo, have the lands all blown up. And again, it's from that it being a child of Commander almost. And I think, like I said, Oathbreaker reeks of that. I see people...
We'll get to Oathbreaker in a second. I want to keep our formats separate. So that's why I think Tiny Leaders failed, is I think the format literally reached a point of being essentially solved. I think there was not enough to do with it, that it was far too few card choices for players with that CMC restriction. It was arbitrary. It wasn't something that was...
Do you think perhaps it could come back when we have more cards then?
No, because we already had all of the cards throughout Magic's history.
Oh yeah, we had a lot of cards.
So what's one more set going to do it?
Now we have I'm talking 5-10 years.
I mean, anything is possible. I'm not going to say impossible.
You heard it here first. There you go.
Anything is possible.
The summer of 2025. Tiny Leaders is coming back.
Believe in your dreams. But along those lines, I think that Tiny Leaders actually, in many ways, is causing problems for other formats that come out, because people were interested in new ways to play Magic. There were a lot of adopters initially for Tiny Leaders, and as a result of it, anytime a new format comes out, and I think it's very unfair, and yeah, I do like Oathbreaker, I think it's very unfair that Oathbreaker's out and someone just goes, I already fell for Tiny Leaders, and it's like, well, wait a minute, it's a different format.
I didn't play Ball at FNM because I just thought it was the next Tiny Leaders.
Right, but there was another format that failed.
What, between Tiny Leaders and Brawl? Oh, Brawl, you mean.
Frontier.
Oh, of course. Oh, that was such a flash in the
Do
pan.
you
I forgot
remember?
even-
Now,
I do.
Frontier was not an organic format like Tiny Leaders was. Why do I say that?
Well, okay, so when you said it, I thought, yeah, Frontier
Yeah.
was designed to sell staples that rotated out of standard.
Bingo. It was so cynical.
Or is it, if you haven't heard it before, Rotatos.
Rotatos. That's from Loading Ready Run.
I think so, yeah. It's I can't remember where I heard it, but I said potatoes are rubbish cards that rotate out of standard. You have no other use for them, because Siege Runner is not good enough for modern, apparently.
Right.
And therefore...
Well, they claimed, I will give, it was largely put out by, I believe, Harry Ruya, was largely putting out
sounds about right, yeah.
pushing the format. Now, I will give them, and if it wasn't them in a different card shop, apologies, but it was in Japan. It was
But
formed...
if we're telling the people at home that it was a cynical move to sell staples, the card shop who did make the format's like, no, don't mention us. I'm glad you mentioned Harry Ruya.
I'm pretty sure it was Harry Ruya. But whatever it was, I will give them the benefit of the doubt. And this was the claim that they had, which is that the prices in Japan of singles in the modern card pool were very expensive because the cards are much harder to come by, and that's saying something because we all know what modern prices are like. But they said that, look, it's really rough out here, and modern events just aren't firing, and we want to run tournaments, we want to run events, and we said, you know what if we determined when cards became plentiful for us, which we have, right? And you're already, and I'm saying I'm trying not to be cynical.
Exactly. So my skeptical point there is like,
I'm trying not to be
if you're saying
that-
your fetch
yeah.
stands are expensive, then you're like, but they're now legal in another format we're going to play tournaments for. It's
Right.
getting more and more expensive. So it's not helping modern players play Magic, is it?
That was the corporate pitch to the players, was that they chose this new frontier based on plentiful cards, lower prices. Yeah, it is to sell those staples. I think, unfortunately, it really was based off of we have such a surplus of cards from this era that we just want to, and standard rotated out, and it was like, we just want to keep selling these old
And
standard
the thing is,
cards.
Mantis Rider wasn't really playable in modern at that point, but now it's a staple. You just need to wait it out.
Okay, but-
Siege Runner will return to modern. You have to make your own new format to try and sell those cards. But do you think perhaps Frontier would have succeeded if it had started at a different point?
Well, of course, then that's a different format.
No, sure. Wow, yeah.
Started at 7th edition.
The point
Yeah.
is, I guess what I'm trying to say is that Frontier was exciting.
8th edition.
It was exciting, right? Some of the decks you could play, like I want to play not Combustible Gearhulk. What's the blue one called? Torrential Gearhulk.
Right.
And Dig Through Time in the same deck. I was like, that sounds like fun. But the problem was, we came off the back of some standards that people didn't remember all too fondly. With like Jeskai Black and Siege Runners all over the shop and stuff. So Frontier as a exercise could have been quite a lot of fun if it came after a standard period that was enjoyable. However, we then had multiple standards that no one liked that had to have bans to improve.
Right.
And we've only just got
Frontier
to-
was dead by the time we got to Kaladesh, I think.
Exactly, and then Kaladesh was a problem in all of itself, a standard.
Sure.
I mean, there's
But we have the same problem now. Notice we have the same problem
With
I
Arena.
pointed out for Tiny Leaders, which is too small a card pool. Frontier, they had not enough cards to brew from, and so essentially what we had is what you described, which is we had better degenerate standard decks. So we had the worst, like Jeskai Black, and
was
just
the,
it turned into
company
Frontier
deck.
decks were largely 5-color good stuff, and they chose to include fetch lands, which have two problems. One is they are expensive, and so this whole we're getting around the
If only
expense.
they get reprinted more often, Brian.
Yeah, or as many
only
people
there was
said,
a-
if only they had chosen to start after fetch lands.
Well, of course, but I was also trying to.
Right.
I'm just memeing, right? Like, surely Wizards
No,
could
I
just
know. You
print
could just
them more,
reprint
but
them. Well,
that's
I
a
mean,
whole
that's a
topic
whole
for
other
a different
thing.
video,
a whole other
right?
thing.
Yeah.
But so I do want. We're trying to understand why formats fail, and I'm highlighting that again. We have the issue of it's too small of a card pool, and then I'm also going to say that fetch lands in particular were problematic. They made mana bases so good that you could run 5-color Frontier decks. Fetch lands should not be in any newly conceived format.
But do you think
like
they
that.
jumped the gun, is the term I was going for there? Do you think they perhaps should have tried Frontier a set forward, but obviously a bit later once we had more sets in front of it?
They did
Because
no testing. You need to do testing. They
Sure.
did not do they were like, this is where
Standard
our
wasn't
surplus.
testing. Standard was testing it for
Standard
us.
wasn't tested to then keep going without rotation. But they were like, this is where our surplus of cards is. So there's no testing. It's inorganic. It's the corporation is just saying, like in this case, it wasn't Wizards Corporation, but it was a corporation. We want to sell these cards. We're going to say, well, why don't you play this format? They weren't thinking about things like fetch lands or that just the worst standard decks that needed to go are going to now be sticking around.
The starting point was rather arbitrary too, wasn't it? It was literally probably because of the abundance of siege rhinos and grinders in the shops.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it wasn't even the border, right? Because I remember at the time I was kind of frustrated that I didn't go back to because obviously modern, people at home don't notice, started with the new modern border.
Right.
At 8th edition they changed the border and that's when modern starts. So you'd think that Frontier or Postmodern or whatever the next modern non-rotating eternal format would start with the border that was the hologram change in
wasn't that actually that was Origins was the first
Origins. There you go. So you think that would make sense to start there, right?
Origins would make a lot of sense.
They just skipped
and
like
that
a set or two and went Gans.
Right.
So
and so that is so problematic. So Frontier failed. People were already like, it's very hard to get past that cynicism of they're just trying to sell cards as well. I think that I did one deck tech with Frontier. It was very reluctant.
I put cards in a box. I think I got a deck box. I put like Gearhulks and Dig or something there. So I started to build, and I was like, nah, it's not going to catch.
And I did a video being critical of Frontier as well.
What did you deck tech? What deck did you deck tech?
It was, I think, like a Mardu aggro.
Watch that spike after this episode.
No, it's not that. No, it's not because no one's going to play it anymore.
Yeah, I know.
No one's.
But people might go back and watch it out of morbid curiosity, like an artifact of a bygone age or a dead civilization.
Yeah.
It still has some
and so that therein goes Frontier.
It's funny that I forgot about Frontier. It's funny that my mind just goes Tiny Leaders being the first of the failed formats. Although there are older failed formats.
Tiny Leaders is also easy to remember because it has such an absurd, ridiculous name.
I love that name.
I hate that name. I think it's.
Why do you hate that name?
I think it's infantile.
That's probably why I like it.
Yeah. It's.
But don't forget there's other sets.
I don't like Frontier either as a name.
I think that's a terrible name.
And I'll tell you another name I don't like. Standard Plus.
That's awful. But
that's the name of the format that's coming to Arena within a matter of months.
They haven't called it officially Standard Plus,
no,
right?
That's the working title. It's the only thing they've referred to it as officially as is Standard Plus. And so this is the format coming to Arena. The question is, are they going to include all the formats that have already been programmed into Arena going all the way back to Kaladesh? Or are they going to say Kaladesh is filled with broken cards? And I think there's an interesting parallel to Frontier here. Because they should have said in Frontier, no, we're starting after Fetch Lands. And so should they say for Standard Plus, no, let's start after Kaladesh.
There's a similar argument for Modern, though. Some people believe that 8th edition should be in Modern. So they all seem to start one set too early. And obviously Mirrodin being one of those broken sets of all time, that's the beginning of Modern as well after 8th edition.
Or go back a few more sets, or they should have gone back a few earlier sets, include more degenerate cards.
But
that's another thing. We're now getting modern cards printed in.
Yeah, they keep going back maybe too far with these sets and stuff. But
okay,
I don't think Kaladesh's cards are too powerful in a vacuum, but I guess, again, that's probably another whole...
Right. So now we have another format, and this is one I think I'm going to draw the most heat for saying, but I'm going to say it, Brawl. I think Brawl is a failed format. If it's not a failed format, it's a failing format. And so anyone who's watching this that's a Brawl fanatic,
please comment below and tell us if because I don't think
please comment below and say what a jackass I am.
No, I don't think Brian's stoking as much fire as he believes he is. I think people know this is dead, right?
I think it's fair to say that Brawl is experiencing problems to the level of it's a dying format. It might be able to be saved, but it isn't succeeding as much as Wizards of the Coast would have liked. If you are a fan of Brawl, I think you might say it's not succeeding as much as you would like. I'd say Brawl is at the very least on the way out, and that many would argue Brawl is flat out dead. You looked on the Brawl forums.
So a couple of points, and you're like thinking Brawl isn't quite dead yet. So don't forget, there's a video on my channel. Me and Brian played some Commander last week, and we just happened to pop into the Brawl room as we were loading up, and there was one person waiting for a Brawl game. Brawl open play. Oh, that poor one! Look at that! Look at that one person!
Please show that. Oh my god.
I feel so bad.
And just grab a clip of that to send to me so I can tweet that out. Yeah. That there's one person in Brawl open play.
Oh my goodness! I'm gonna snip it now. And the thing is, like.
That poor person.
People joke.
Post your name in the description below so that another person who wants to play Brawl can message you.
This comment section can be your forum to find other Brawl players.
Please, anyone, Brawl!
But the point is, there's nowhere to play it. Like, Arena doesn't have it programmed on it, and no one's playing on Modo either. And that's
Question. If tomorrow Wizards announced Brawl is being added as 1v1 to Arena, now, not multiplayer, they don't, as 1v1 to Arena, would that save Brawl?
I think it would help it.
Yeah, it would help it, but
I think people
becomes
like
problematic
people
because
like
it was made for
Singleton.
multiplayer.
No, people like Singleton so much that I think
Yeah.
Brawl would succeed.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing, Wizards keep like not giving people Singleton for long enough. People are like, oh, we love Singleton, and take it away again.
But then we have that 1v1 problem you talked about with Tiny Leaders.
Yes, but then again, actually no, you would get on Arena because if you surf any Facebook Arena groups, people just fundamentally don't understand Magic on Arena. Like some people are like, you're so lame for playing Teferi, and other people are like, well, they're going to play Teferi because it exists. But yeah, I don't know if the power level spike matters so much online because you've got ladders and stuff. Well, would there be a ladder?
Sure. What's the first reason Brawl failed? Too small of a card pool. Once again, we're going into it was too small of a card pool, and that immediately caused the Brawl decks to become just insufferably unbeatable.
Yeah, so if people don't know, Baral was banned in 1v1 Commander
Right.
online. So 1v1 Commander had a spike of popularity online when they allowed it, and then they were too cautious to ban anything. So Baral took over, and Baral was winning like every league and everything. Every video of anyone playing LSV was playing Baral. Everyone was playing Baral. And then by the time they got into banning it, no one wanted to play 1v1 Commander anymore because people were sick of it.
And so then Brawl, there you go, and Brawl in Brawl was just unstoppable.
Brawl was
and
a
so the
mistake of
format
Magic card,
gets,
in my opinion.
I mean, I agree with that too, but that's another discussion. But you have such a small card pool that the format gets solved. There are not enough variety of decks that can be built.
The other problem is no one wanted it. No one wanted it. Right? Like people love Commander, right? People
Inorganic.
So
Inorganic.
the reason that Wizards, so let's talk a bit about like Wizard narrative for a moment, right? Wizards wanted this to be made so they could sell more standard cards because Brawl was a rotating format. Brawl was Commander, except you don't keep your personalized deck in your Hedron deck box on your shelf and play with it when your friends come around or go to your local store to play. It's a format where your deck rotates out and you have to get rid of it and buy new cards. And a lot of those good cards are good standard cards. The decks aren't even that cheap. No one wanted that, but Wizards did want that.
You're telling me that we have a connection to the failed Frontier format as well? That we are not only drawing a parallel and a connection to Tiny Leaders and why Tiny Leaders failed and why Brawl failed, but also that this was just made by a company to sell more cards that people otherwise didn't want, just like Frontier, and that is problematic for the success of a format? My shocked face.
It's almost like that's exactly what I'm saying.
That's exactly it. Right. And so there you go. And so the very first thing that happens is they say, Brawl, it's standard legal and it rotates because we want more interest in standard cards. We want more sales of standard packs and people playing with these cards. They even said at times, the fun thing about Brawl is that there's cards that maybe aren't working in standard that you want to play with, so then you can play with them in Brawl. And so it's called, hey, we've got these cards that nobody wants. Maybe we'll make this format for these cards that nobody
even
wants.
then, I think that's a little bit disingenuous because we all know that people want their Jaces and their Jars,
right.
the playable mythics that cost money.
Well, and then the other thing that Magic players want is to win, and that's why we end up with them solving the format so quickly. The fact that it rotates was a huge. It's standard. It's tough. It's tough to have to make a new deck every year. To make a new two formats where you have to make a new deck every year.
In some ways, I don't know if you want to segue here, but that is a good segue because that's why some formats succeed.
Yes,
it's because you can buy into an expensive deck, or you can buy into not even cost. You can buy into an archetype or a style of play that you enjoy so much in other formats that you don't have to constantly update your card pool or your deck. Obviously, decks need to be changed in Commander and Modern and Legacy, but you still have fundamentally the same cards outside of extreme bannings like we saw in Pauper recently. let's talk about that.
Those were good. Those were good though.
Yeah, Blue Monday.
Blue Monday and Pauper.
But yeah, you can
at least then if the bannings only cost people like $10,
exactly.
At least then it's like my deck. I would rather have my mono blue Delver deck see some cards banned from it in Pauper.
But however,
and I can still play mono blue Delver.
It's not necessarily about. I keep saying money myself. But it's not just money. It's time and effort, right? And this is something we should talk about with the dying formats. Is that not only do you spend like your $10 to $50 building your deck or whatever,
right?
You spent time curating a list, testing it a little bit with friends, sleeving it up, and then you go to one F&M and that's it. You're one and done. That's what happened by Tiny Leaders deck.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't even most of the cards I already owned, but it's a frustration that I put all this effort in and I can't even play anymore. And it couldn't be played online either because this is the problem. Wizards aren't very keen to adopt these formats on the online platforms, whether it be Arena or Modo, except for the one format that they wanted to shift cards in, but they didn't adopt it on the new platform for some reason. baffles me.
Yeah.
Me why Brawl wasn't on Arena.
Because I've told you the answer. I've told viewers the answer. No one believes me, and I feel like you still are not. You think I'm just making this up. Arena does not have multiplayer
Oh no,
capability.
of course not. Of course not.
That's why.
Still, they could have done 1v1 Brawl. There's no reason they couldn't.
Well, maybe they tested it and it was more easily solved. Maybe 1v1 it just leads to a top deck far too quickly.
To me, my theory for why 1v1 Brawl never happened on Arena is because it was just an oversight. I generally think it's the silo discussion of like.
When in doubt for why WotC does or doesn't do something, turn to
it's not
incompetence,
malicious.
general
But to go back to the point, it sucks that a new format will rock up and you'll put your effort in, they'll die off. And that's why some people like myself are so apprehensive about Oathbreaker. I think Oathbreaker might stick around for a bit longer, to be fair to it.
I think it's unfair to say immediately, because Oathbreaker is not Tiny Leaders in that it has a completely different set of rules and guidelines and requirements. And so to just say, hey, we already did Tiny Leaders, and it's like, this isn't Tiny Leaders, I think that's unfair. I do think it's fair to say, hey, I bought into Tiny Leaders right away, and then it died out, and I ended up having, like a deck that I built, curated, and in many cases paid some money for, and then it's just this dead deck, and so that's going to make me reticent to buy into to get on the Oathbreaker bandwagon, and that's fine. Now, I would also say that Oathbreaker is really fun, that there's a lot of really cheap decks you can just throw one together
I think the issues that Oathbreaker has that it shares with Tiny Leaders are the issues that are fundamental, as you said, exist throughout a lot of Magic sets. So you're going to go to FNM and someone's going to play Narset, Time Spiral U, and you're like, well, that's a bit more competitive than I was expecting. But that's inherent to even modern.
Those problems exist in Modern and Commander.
So those issues aren't much of a problem.
Let's look at the criteria that we already developed about why formats fail and apply it to Oathbreaker. Why formats fail: number one, limited card pool. Oathbreaker does not have that. It has access to all cards with a robust ban
Very
list.
quick tangent. I do not believe that partner commander planeswalkers should be a thing with 2 spells. So apparently, according to the rules of Oathbreaker,
I agree. I think that's too much.
Kenrith and Rowan get a spell each. I mean, I'm not on that committee, but that sounds absurdly busted. But anyway, that's just a tangent. I feel like we're never going to do an episode on this. I feel like that's my place to put my point in. I think that is just disgusting.
I agree with that. I am glad, though, they are... The people in charge of Oathbreaker are curating a very aggressive ban list. They recently updated it. They are very open
Did some new cards get banned on it?
I believe they updated the ban list about a month ago. Now, also, Oathbreaker's been around for a couple of years. It has been played in a very small region, but so have formats like Canadian Highlander.
I was literally about to say Canadian Highlander, and even Commander originally was like a judges format that
right.
Some events.
And I think that the player-driven initiative of formats like Oathbreaker, Canadian Highlander, or Commander in its early days is the judges format, that this is actually where they curated and they say this isn't working. They'd be so much quicker than Wizards to realize, you know what, the double spell rule doesn't work. And we're updating it. That doesn't work.
They're not backed by corporate greed or a need to sell cards either.
Right.
They're backed by
they want the format to succeed.
Yes, exactly.
It's been around a couple of years. They have fairly large. They have a non-zero amount of players showing up to tournaments. It's been spreading. Play groups have been happening. People are not like in Tiny Leaders. Right away, when it took fire, people were reporting problems. In Frontier, away,
can you not remember the famous story of Brawl, where one guy rocked up and took first place at the Brawl Championship?
Yes.
The only person to show up to the event.
Right.
So yeah, at least Oathbreaker's not having those issues.
So Oathbreaker isn't having that. Is Oathbreaker going to stick around forever? No, but I don't know. I don't know. Is what I mean. Yeah. Not no, but
I think it's got the hallmarks, what you said of old. So another thing I think I touched upon earlier is that when you play your Modern, your Legacy, your non-rotating formats, even Commander,
right.
you grow attached to an archetype or a style or a character or a theme, and you can do that with Oathbreaker. And Tiny Leaders kind of had that, but like Brawl doesn't, for example.
I mean, even if 100% doesn't. The nice thing about Brawl 2 is that I do feel that while the double signature spell for partner commanders I do feel is a mistake, I think that the signature spell actually ends up creating really interesting deck building possibilities. I know there's a big group of people that want planeswalkers all made legal as commanders, and I'm actually against that. But I feel that that if it were to happen, that a lot of these Planeswalker decks wouldn't happen in Commander. For example, I recently did a Arlen Cord Oathbreaker deck tech. I love my Arlen Cord Oathbreaker deck, and it's using Moon Mist as the signature spell to make the Werewolf Tribal really happen.
But without Moon Mist, she'd suck in Commander.
Right, and without Moon Mist, she wouldn't be it would be a very this very watered down Commander deck.
So weirdly, I'm one of the people who believes that we're not going to go too much into this, but I think Commanders should be Planeswalkers. However, if Oathbreaker lifts off, I no longer want that.
Right.
Because it gives us a unique way to play Magic. And I love unique ways to play Magic.
Right.
And that's A, what the signature spell does, and B, having Planeswalkers as Commanders does. So I no longer feel this need to want to have that.
Right.
So, yeah, I think...
Okay. So we've talked about why formats fail, and we do see that a lot of the criteria for why Tiny Leaders, Frontier, and Brawl failed is not fully applicable yet to Oathbreaker. You did bring up some good warning signs.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair. Again, I mean, I know I did a big video on Oathbreaker, and I am a big supporter of the format, but I'm not going to stand up here and be like, my friends, I promise you, Oathbreaker is here to stay. You know, like, listen, we don't know what's going to happen, just as we don't know that putting Brawl 1v1 on Arena tomorrow might not make it the best new format that there is. I want to talk about why formats succeed and see if we can apply that to Oathbreaker and see if it has that criteria or not. I don't even know what we're going to say. Let's start with one of your favorites, Legacy.
Yeah.
Legacy is a weird format. I don't understand why people still play it. It's expensive. The reserve list is prohibitive on it. It's hard to find. It doesn't have a very huge population of players, so at certain places it can be very hard to find in-paper play groups. And yet, it's a format people love, it's a format people are devoted to, and it's a format that I believe, if we removed all price restriction tomorrow, would be one of the most popular and sought-out formats there is.
I would hate
so
to
if
say,
magically tomorrow...
I think it would be the premier, most popular format.
So right now, tomorrow, there is no more price restriction on getting cards and sitting down to play Magic magically. No one's going to say, hot damn, I'm going to make my Brawl deck. Hot damn, I'm going to make my Standard deck. They're not even going to say, hot damn, I'm going to make that Modern deck necessarily. They're going to say, hot damn, I'm going to make that Legacy deck.
Yeah.
Possibly Vintage. We'll talk about Vintage in a moment. Why? I want you as the Legacy ambassador among us to tell me why is it that we would all run to Legacy probably.
Legacy has the I've said this. We did a whole episode on this.
We did. No one liked it. No one watched it. Go watch it. It has 0 views. It has 3 views, and one of them's my mom.
And some of the people
and
that
she's
did
telling me, "Get real, Legacy's dead."
And some of the people that did watch it and then commented saying stuff that we just like debunked in the video anyway about how the format's just a turn 2 kill format.
Right.
Once if the price of admission was destroyed and removed, and we weren't stuck with a reserve list, people could build Legacy decks and realize that actually turn 2 combos and turn 1 and turn 0 combos are not the norm. Legacy is the most interactive of all Magic formats, hands down, full stop.
Interactive.
More so than even Standard, because in Standard you can just like die to haymakers or you. So in Legacy, the interaction is at an all-time high with Force of Wills and Cabal Therapies and Thoughtseize and all the most premium, powerful removal spells ever printed, alongside every possible threatened creature, right? Barring the Paranoia and stuff like that. So because of that, you have a lot of back and forth. In Legacy, you get games where like the game is just happening. It's boring to watch in some ways for coverage, but the games are happening in hands. It's all about information, how people are pondering and brainstorming, what permission they might have, when can I go off with this combo, are they going to stop me? Legacy is super interactive, more so than people really give it credit for. That's why I believe it's so much fun, because you have these back and forth games where at the end of it, you're like, I feel like every choice I made in that game mattered.
And it's essentially the largest card pool next to Vintage.
Yeah.
I mean, Legacy has, I believe, I suppose Legacy's card pool is essentially on par with Commander. Vintage is the largest card pool of options. Legacy and Commander are,
Legacy has all the Commander, Conspiracy, and Battlebond cards as well.
Yeah, so Legacy and Commander are essentially tied for second place.
When you compare it to Modern, in Modern sometimes, and I don't get me wrong, I love Modern, but the comparison there to try and understand and like just clarify my point is that in Modern, sometimes the choices you make do not matter.
Modern is a fair... I love Modern. I love Modern, but a very fair criticism of Modern is that it is oftentimes a solitaire format.
Exactly, and we're going to talk... There'll be an episode maybe before last week or next week where we'll be talking about this.
Depending on how we put them up, we'll have an episode talking about Modern.
In Modern, sometimes your decisions do not matter.
Right.
You can mulligan, you can play your first land, you can play and then you're just dead. And that's...
just a bad matchup. You're not going to beat Affinity,
and that
period.
can happen in Legacy, but it's much rarer and your interaction and your choices matter. So that's why I think it makes the best purist.
And there we go into this idea, choice. And I also want to emphasize, too, that there is a natural and intrinsic appeal to being able to have your cards last. Having not just cards not rotate, but cards from as far back as you can go. It gives you something to pursue and acquire, so I think that maybe the only thing that would possibly lose the shine of Legacy is that if suddenly I had access to all Legacy cards and everyone else did, there's that kind of specialness maybe goes away.
Yeah,
but I want my cards to last.
Yeah.
I want my cards to last. I want to keep them. I want to keep using them. I want to get creative with them.
But even outside of cost, if you've spent like years learning how a deck functions, the ins and outs of it, like people who play Miracles and Legacy, or like I'm going to say it, Death and Taxes, like the intricacies of how Flicker Wisp works at instant speed allows you to do so many weird interactions. We take people off lands and like take creatures out so they can't get removed from wraths and things. You learn all that stuff. It's great to be able to then go back and go, I've invested not only money, but time into learning how these cards work. And I can sit down and play with some of my favourite Magic cards of all time. Standard never has that. I've played Standards where you learn your deck and like, I'm loving this deck. And then the day, I've got a video on my channel from years ago where in black and white, I put my Sphinx's Revelations into a folder and close it and put it in the cupboard. I love Sphinx's Revelations.
Oh, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do have a YouTube channel. I haven't mentioned it up. Wow, this might be the longest.
This is the longest? No, we had one where we made it to the end.
No, I mentioned EDH and Chill earlier. I know, I screwed the picture in.
Wow, you have a
But I
YouTube
made a video where I was sad to put a standard deck away, and that doesn't happen with Modern and Legacy and Vintage or Commander.
Right.
And I think that is, like you said, a definite defining feature of a successful format.
Now, you said to me, that Legacy might not be the most fun one to watch, but I'm going to bring up a counterpoint to that about Vintage. One of the most popular programs right now is the Vintage Super League, and it has been popular for quite some time. Viewership is really healthy on that. Popularity and obsession with how that's going, also I'd say is very healthy. People love to watch Vintage. Why is Vintage even still around? Why is Vintage the format of Moxes and Power 9 and such?
I think there's a testament to the production value that Randy Buehler puts into that for a start.
Sure.
So, like, shout out to Randy for that.
Shout out to Athena / Elantris, who is the power behind that
the scenes,
production. But she does an amazing. They both amazing team all around.
Exactly.
Randy and Athena.
So
great stuff.
So there's testament to that. But also, I think there's like a morbid curiosity with Vintage. Like you want to see people get like killed on turn one with Moxons and battles. And things I like Vintage, and I play a little bit of it here and there. I normally play a Stacks deck, as you'll probably hate. But I think Vintage, in my opinion, is like Legacy, but sometimes they draw Black Lotus and you don't.
Right.
So that's my issue with like Vintage. That sometimes is a bit swinging around.
I think Vintage is really entertaining.
That makes for exciting viewing.
It does.
Even if it's feel bad playing, it makes for exciting viewing.
They've got a good group of people playing it. You got very they pick very charismatic pros.
And don't forget, if there are Vintage events at GPs, I've seen this before, or old school, people will walk past, see some Lotus or Moxon or Power 9, and you will stop and you will watch. And that's just part of the appeal of how... And Legacy gets that a little bit, but it's not like Vintage. Because people are playing with such crazy amounts of not only monetary real-world value, but also just powerful artifacts that you don't get to touch very often.
Yeah. So, what about Commander, then? Why is Commander possibly the best Magic format there is today?
I think it's got elements that we've not talked about at all so far. In terms of
what are those elements?
It's a social aspect.
Yeah.
Like, I don't go... It's not true. I go to Legacy events to see friends that also play Legacy and chat to them, but when we sit down for a game of Magic, I'm not there to chat to them, I'm there to kill them, right?
Right.
But in Commander, I don't always sit down to... Well, not always, I'm a bit of a spike, but I don't always sit down to try and kill my teammates or my table mates, right? Sometimes you're just having a bit of a laugh, and you'll make king-making plays, and you'll muck about. And
I have fantastic... Even before I had a YouTube channel and became, known, I had fantastic social...
Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do have a YouTube channel. You should check it out. I had fantastic socialization at Legacy events because Legacy players, at least at the shops I went into with my Merfolk deck and Mono Red Burn Legacy deck, they were thrilled. They welcomed me. They were so happy. They were happy an event fired. They were, well, it's a Legacy player. Where were you last week? We had only 7. Come, friend, sit. Oh, you've got Merfolk. That's adorable. I'm playing combo elves and go off turn 3, But
and people, like Legacy players will lend out stuff as well. So
Legacy players are very generous. Legacy players lend stuff out. Yeah.
But I think it's not the
I
same
see what
as
you're saying.
Commander.
Commander has more of it. Yeah.
Like surely when you sit down to play Commander, it's just so different, and that's part of it as well. Like I guess I play a lot of Magic online and like a little bit of Arena and stuff, and then when I sit down to play paper EDH, it's a completely different experience. It's completely different.
It's a different type of bragging rights too. In Legacy, the bragging rights is a little bit like I've got this expensive card maybe, but in Commander, the bragging rights is I'm playing style. I'm playing like you sit down and you go, this is my bragging rights. I'm on slivers. I'm on stacks. I'm on.
No one playing slivers deserves to brag. Let's be honest.
Yes, but well, that's what I mean. That's that kind of like we're all kind of comparing our decks, and we're laughing about it.
I'm not saying you meant it in this way, but I'm going to say I don't think legacy players do brag about the cost of their decks very often.
Not the cost, but there's covet. There's a covet. A covet.
Yeah, there
to
is
your
some
cards.
prestige. There is some prestige. Yeah.
Legacy. Are you more likely to see I don't know, what's one of those expensive, a Guru land? Are you more likely to see a Guru island in Modern or Legacy?
Legacy, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And that's it's not that people, I know very well off people who play Modern, but there's something about Legacy where it's not about bragging about the money, but there's the covet of the ultimate bling. The covet of the ultimate bling.
I think Commander has that as well.
Yeah.
I think you're right. People don't do that.
Well,
as
that's right.
much
I just cracked my Urza and I'm thinking I wish it was foil.
Exactly. I've seen, and I'm doing it. I'm trying to. I think I just punched my microphone. Sorry for the noise that the editor will probably cut out anyway. I'm doing that with my EDH deck at the moment. I'm trying to make all the cards unique and edit, like alternate arts or actually altered by artists. So I'm going for that right now with my Commander deck. I think people do that. People's Commander decks are more personalized than most decks, I think. So I think people, not necessarily Guru lands, but people pimp out their decks with all sorts of ludicrous foils and stuff. So, and I think that's what it is. You can have a passion project in Commander without fears of bans or rotation ruining it. And also, your friends are more likely to, I don't know, there's that social project. I used to buy German cards for my friend's Siege Gang Commander deck because I knew he wanted to do an all-German Siege Gang Commander deck. Yeah. I don't see people do that for like Modern and Legacy as much, right? Commander's a weird beast.
Yeah, and I think I've said this before. Commander may not be my number one favorite format. It's certainly up there, but I would say that in an almost, you can't be objective, but in a kind of objective sense, Commander might be the best Magic format in terms of stability, in terms of its ability to endure, in terms of I could see Legacy failing before Commander.
Sure.
I could see
modern as well.
failing. I could see Modern failing before Legacy. I could see Modern.
Check out the next episode of Dice
Check out the next or the previous possibly.
Who knows?
Or the previous possibly.
But no, I agree with you, and I think that's because EDH is Commander is kind of the closest to being kitchen table Magic that you
in some ways, yeah. And so, looking at those qualities at Oathbreaker, it doesn't have all of them. It has some of them. It has the socialization. It has the personalization. But I don't think that it necessarily has the rest that we discussed, but it's there. It's up there. It certainly has it more. I guess I don't want to start like putting a dampen. I'm doing more Oathbreaker
I think
text.
some of the reason that Oathbreaker doesn't have some of those things right now is because it's living in the shadow or for the sins of Tiny Leaders.
And that's what I think is unfair. Don't compare it to Tiny Leaders, compare it to Commander. I guess it comes down to this. So I actually asked, I forget if it was Mark Rosewater or Gavin, I think it was Gavin, at a GP, not when he was here, but I just said to him about Brawl, one of the two of them, about Brawl. I said, listen, let me ask you this, just why'd you have to make it rotate? Why'd you have to make it rotate? I said, if it didn't rotate...
And he can't say the real reason.
No, he said the real... I don't care. I don't feel like this is a breach of confidence. He said something to the effect of, because then why wouldn't you just play Commander?
Well, Brawl had that exclusivity of being able to play Planeswalkers as commanders, which is where this whole massive discussion around whether EDH should have that.
But I feel I feel that they make a valid point with that. So I'll be the first then to bring up my pet format of Oathbreaker, I guess, and say, so why wouldn't you just play Commander? The big reason is the Planeswalker. It's also the signature spell. I also really like 60 card.
20 life.
20 life, yet still multiplayer.
20 life makes so many strategies that aren't even remotely valid in Commander valid as well.
Everybody who is saying things like, I'm just going to do Narset Windfall. Well, good luck resolving and staying in the game. As soon as we see Narset Windfall, we're coming for you.
Yeah.
I'm coming for you, Marshall. It's going to turn into a shootout. So I think it has that advantage. At the end of the day, though, I do think it's fair to say, why aren't we just playing Commander?
Right. So on that,
for a lot of things.
On that sort of point, so here's this question. So we're lucky because we've got to a position where we get to play and talk about a lot of Magic for our jobs, right?
Right.
But at what point is too many formats too many formats? Because
that's a very good point.
So like you build your Commander deck, and my Commander deck is relatively freshly rebuilt, and I'm excited to play it all the time right now. Okay.
Right.
And then someone's like, "Oh, do you want to play this format?" I'm like, "Well, I kind of still haven't played enough Commander yet." And then if your day job isn't playing Magic like mine is, luckily enough, I'm like, "Well, I still want to play on my Legacy deck that I haven't played with in a while, or my Modern deck that I haven't played with in a while."
Right.
At that point, like you run out of time and space and energy to invest in or understand or even just play other formats.
If you removed the reserve list tomorrow and printed a paper Vintage Masters, I'm the biggest Modern fan and supporter. I would probably tomorrow say I'm 100% done with Modern and I'm only playing Legacy now.
It'd be Legacy, Vintage, and Canadian Highlander sort of style things all over the shop. Everyone would pick up the cards for them. But
I feel like Canadian Highlander, like I guess they could get that. This is what I want.
But I think Canlander and other things like that, and Australian Highlander and all those sort of versions of Highlander are, in my opinion, slightly better ways to play Vintage because you've got some restrictions on where you put your points. It's not everyone. So otherwise, everyone's just got Black Lotuses, and then it's the luck of the draw sort of thing.
If you said to me, hey, Brian, I've got 2 Vintage decks and 2 Canadian Highlander decks here. Let's get a game with your choice afterwards. I'd say let's do the Canadian, let's do the Canadian Highlander then Vintage.
But that's interesting. Do you think if the reserve list went, that'd actually be it'd make Wizards struggle to sell if they started printing reserve list cards, right? And everyone starts playing all these Highlander formats and Vintage and more Legacy. Do you think then Wizards would struggle to sell standard boosters?
Well, knowing Wizards, they'd probably charge $39.99 for each booster pack of Vintage Masters, and they'd water it down with more. Well, we needed to make the draft environment better cards, so.
And also reprint equity, right? So one of the Power 9 every 1 year. Like,
yeah, right.
9 years.
Oh my God! Did Vintage Masters had all the Power 9,
online?
Right? Yeah. But I bet you if they did it, they'd have like 2.
Yeah.
They'd both be they'd be introducing with Vintage Masters paper a brand new rarity, Ultra Mythic.
I've never thought of it this way. I feel like we just stumbled onto like a Pandora's box that makes you feel a bit ill.
Yeah.
That maybe that is one of the other reasons that Wizards will never get rid of the reserve list because they need to sell standard. But this is tinfoil hat territory here. So
here's my dream. If you gave me the Magic paintbrush, this is what I'd say. I would say, even though sometimes I'm not a big Standard fan, I would say Standards is a critical format that needs to exist, be supported, be made as they make it now, but continuing to.
And when it's good, it's really
good. I would say we need that. I would say we want Commander. We want Commander, quite possibly the perfect personification of kitchen table Magic, possibly the best and healthiest format in many ways. Commander should exist as this thing. Everybody should have at least one Commander deck. Absolutely. And then I would say Modern, Legacy, Pauper, Vintage, Canadian Highlander, all this stuff. I would love to be able to say, and then there is one quote-unquote legacy format, and the one legacy format is where all the old cards go, and there's this, and so what you've got.
Well, traditionally, that's what Type 1 and Type 1.5 were.
Right. What you've got is we've got the new set. And we're playing decks with cards from the most recent 2 years or whatever the exact timing of it is, and whatever, and that's standard. But then, what about my old cards? Well, you've got your Commander or Commanders.
Now
you've got your
like
Legacy, and then maybe you've got your Cube, where you're creating your own draft.
I hate it. I didn't think I would hate it when you were explaining it. I think I would.
You do.
But yeah, but I think like House of M style. If I woke up tomorrow and the world has changed and I'm the only person you can remember, and I'm like, where's Modern gone? And then you whisper to me, but you always hated Modern, Vince. You always moaned about it.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't want it to go. Like I still enjoy because certain decks.
I love
just
it too.
don't
I was a
work in
big
Legacy.
Modern. I mean, I actually think it's so funny that I'm associated with Pauper when I almost want to say I wish I'd like to point out some of my early Modern videos where I'm like, are you still not playing Modern?
But I think
I was a big Modern advocate.
But I
was such a Modern
supporter
supporter
up until this point where we're like, can we please have the format slow down a little bit?
Yeah.
But no, I think when you put it on the table like that and say, Vince, tomorrow I'm going to change the world, I'm like, actually, no, I kind of do want it still to exist. I just want it to be managed a bit better.
Then maybe what we've ultimately come to, though, is that a diversity of formats is healthy for the game.
100%.
That you don't just want 3 formats, Legacy, Standard, and Commander. That it's okay to have Legacy, Vintage, Canadian Highlander, Pauper, and yes, Modern.
Australian Highlander.
Sure, I like Australian Highlander too. I actually prefer it. I like the 60-card singleton more to 100-card singleton for those sort of 1v1 formats. So then, bringing it all the way back around, Oathbreaker, if we're going to say diversity of formats, it's good. Different styles, good. Oathbreaker's meeting that criteria too, of then it's okay to have this format in addition.
And not every format for
Tiny
every person
Leaders
as well.
failed for inherent reasons in design. Frontier failed for inherent reasons in design. Brawl failed for inherent reasons in design. I believe Oathbreaker does not have those inherent flaws, and that it's only flaws that it's not really Commander and not really Legacy and not really some of these existing formats. But if we're going to determine, you know what, it's great to have a diversity of formats, then I'd say Oathbreaker, go build your deck.
Yeah, if it was on Magic Online Arena tomorrow, I'd be all over it.
Sure.
Absolutely all over it.
Well, we'll play. You'll bust out your. We'll bust out some decks this weekend. A lot of people bringing Oathbreaker up to Seattle. I'll bring a spare deck for you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I've just started building Canadian Highlander. That's what I'm saying.
I love Canadian
we have to
Highlander.
build another
Go
deck?
check it out. Go watch North 100 by
Yes.
Loading Ready Run.
I'm very excited to play some Canadian Highlander at Seattle this
Yeah,
weekend.
I love Canadian Highlander. I love Australian Highlander.
That was kind of my point. It's very hard to keep up with all the formats, right? Even when like your job is to talk about Magic, I'm still like, next week we can talk about it, playing more Pauper.
Right.
I had to push
A
myself to play more Pauper.
diversity of formats means that when one format or two gets sick, when Modern maybe gets sick, when Standard gets sick, that the whole game of Magic the Gathering still goes on. Oathbreaker can add to that diversity. Other formats, maybe Standard Plus will add to that. But I hope Standard Plus does not fall into those pitfalls that we've
It
outlined
needs a
here
name that
today.
isn't Standard Plus. Oh, that name.
What's the right name? Let's end with this. What's the right name? Here's
So like,
the
if Frontier started at Origins,
postmodern.
I don't like. Do I like it? I don't know. I don't
Postmodern.
know. But like, if Frontier started at Origins, calling it Origins would have just
Would have been a
worked,
smart
right?
one.
But I've got an idea. Here's my pitch. Right? You know how we have like Mythic Championships and Mythic Invitationals and Mythic Rarities.
No.
How about we just call the new format Mythic?
Mythic.
Yeah.
The Mythic.
Mythic Modern.
Mythic Modern. Mythic Modern Mythic.
There you go. You heard it here first. If that is actually the name, I think I might just stop playing Magic.